Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors for this podcast, the amazing people at Level Dumpsters. Look, LSU football kicks off September 1st, and here in South Louisiana, that means backyard get-togethers on the patio with family and friends, and it also means cleaning up that backyard with roll-off dumpster size options ranging from 15 yards all the way up to 30-yard dumpsters. Level Dumpsters has you covered, be it new residential construction or just that backyard spruce up before football season. Give Level Dumpsters a call at 225-310-6647 or on the web at leveldumpsters.com and mention Local Leaders to get $100 off right now for new customers. Level Dumpsters, a verified partner of Local Leaders, the podcast. Now, I've been looking forward to this podcast for a very long time, y'all. I'm excited about this one, and I'll tell you why. Go on Facebook and type in Unfiltered with Kieran, and you'll discover a very active page with over 152,000 subscribers. Her TikTok, nearly 100,000, and her website, millions of clicks. She is one of those investigative journalists that is going to get to the truth and give you the straight facts. That's what her reputation is. Let me give you a little bit more about her background. Her journalism career began as a senior in high school with a 2-week trial internship at WWL in New Orleans. And in those 2 weeks, a mentor told her that he saw the news bug had already bitten her, and there was no turning back. Those 2 weeks extended into a full senior year internship. That, in turn, a part-time job, and after college, it became full-time. Then, 14 years ago, she got into the investigative side of journalism and gained a reputation of being absolutely fearless. She has won 14 regional and 3 national Edward R. Murrow Awards and 4 Emmy Awards. She is a Louisiana Association of Broadcaster Reporter of the Year, an Associated Press News Person of the Year, and get this, y'all, 225 Magazine's Best Local News Personality in 2022, 2023, and 2024. And if all that is not enough, 3 years ago, a shocking event in her life prompted her to launch Unfiltered with Kieran, and through that, she has built a media empire to include her most recent addition with her podcast, Louisiana Unfiltered. She is hands down the most recognizable news personality in the entire state of Louisiana. She is here today, and I can only be talking about the amazing Kiran Chawla. Welcome to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Thank you. Good Lord, that intro, Jim.
Look, if y'all know Kieran, she is very humble, to say the least, and so she does not like to be doted on when it comes to her accolades.
That was too much.
Totally earned, and totally, the facts are the facts, Kiran Chawla, and that is the facts. We are glad to have you here today. And my first question is going to be, I want you to kind of go back to, we talked about high school. You were in the news realm. The bug bit you, and then you went to college, and you finally got out there and got full-time in news.
You know what the odd thing is now, Jim? I have interns at Unfiltered with Kieran who are in high school. In fact, today he's a senior now. Yeah. And the parking spot, the crown, all of that, but that excitement, that sparkle in his eyes, and he's one of our interns. Yeah. And I'm reminded of what it was like, some time ago. But just a few years ago. Right. But I'm taken back to, this was you. Yeah. This was you a billion years ago, it feels like. But I see that spark, and it's actually brought back. There are days when we work crazy hours. I've come in here and been like, Jim, I'm dead to the world. But he's brought back that spark in a sense of like, this is why you got into it. And I love, till this day, I love what I do. I love the team we have. But yeah, I started in high school.
Yeah.
And in fact, I used to, just a small little job, you're in high school, I used to teach dance. And I think a lot of people don't know that
I
about
did not
me.
even know that.
I used to teach dance to little girls. I was one of the teachers at Creative Dance in Slidell, Louisiana.
Okay.
And I had girls from 2-3 years old all the way up to high school girls. Frank Davis.
Okay.
I don't know if people even remember him, but Naturally Nolans from New Orleans, from WWL.
Yep.
His grandson actually took classes there. And I grew up watching him, and I just got to talking to him that what it's like being at WWL, which was back then, the CBS affiliate there was like the station you watched.
Yeah.
Got to talking as far as news goes, and I said, I wish I could get my foot in the door and just see what it's like. Just see it. That's all I wanted at that point. And he goes, well, let me connect you with the HR person. So senior year of high school, North Shore High, they allowed people to do internships, but the internships were pretty much set. You could go do the medical direction, or I think teaching was the other one. Well,
Right.
I didn't care to do either.
Yeah.
So in typical Kieran fashion, I went and paved my own path that, can I do something else? If they sign off on it, we'll sign off on it. So I had the introduction made with HR, and I went and asked HR at WWL that this is something I think I may want to pursue. And they said, we don't allow internships for high schools. They said that, but why don't we do a 2-week trial? Let's see if you like it. And more importantly, let's see if the newsroom is okay with you.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks in, and I'm in love. Like, it took 2 weeks, and the mentor who I'm talking about, Bill Capo, he told me early on, he goes, I can see that news bug has bit you. He goes, I'd love to try to tell you things and don't do this profession, which now I see the reasons of don't do it.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks in, I go in and go meet with the HR guy again, and he explains that, what do you think? So I'm trying not to be over crazy that, oh my God, I love it. And I'm trying to be professional, like, oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, the newsroom down there, they love you. So I'm thinking, really? In the 2 weeks I made that impression, and the rest is history.
And you know, it's Kieran, it is a different field in a lot of ways.
Oh,
and especially when you're that young, maybe you don't look at it the same way as you do as you get older, but it's not hours. Like, people go to a job and it's 9 to 5.
It's not.
And that job is so not that.
It's not. In fact,
And you loved it.
I did. And I guess back then I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Because I had to go fulfill my hours for school. But for school, you're required to do what? 4 hours, 3 hours, how many ever it is. I wasn't doing just the minimum. If I'm going at 2 o'clock, well, the news doesn't go on till 5 and 6 o'clock. I'm required to fill 3 or 4 hours. What am I learning if I only stayed till 5?
Right.
I stayed till 7. Or if you're sent out with a reporter and a photographer and you're on breaking news, they're not driving back just to drop you off.
Yeah.
You're stuck.
Yeah.
But you would think you're stuck. You're getting the experience of a lifetime. That journalism is one of those careers you do not learn out of a book.
Right.
And so I have this internship. I'm doing it simply for credit. It's not money or anything. I get out of high school and I got my very first job ever. It's a part-time job while I'm going to college at Loyola University. I gave up all my weekends. So I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights.
During college. Everybody else is partying.
Everybody's partying.
Except Kieran.
In fact, this is how much of a loser I was. We'd get off the news at 10 o'clock, and WWL is right in the quarter. It's towards the end of, you walk 2-3 blocks, you're on Bourbon Street, the Blacksmith Bar. That was the hangout for all the Channel 4 people. 10:45, 11, we were all off at 11 o'clock. We're all walking to the Blacksmith. I'm the youngest of the group, and I'm the only one who's saying, I'm going home. So
Why does this not surprise me?
I've just never been that drinker, partier.
Yeah.
I'd go hang out because at first I'm like, I'm going to come across as a loser, or maybe I do need to be hanging out and working with some of these people. But by midnight, I'm thinking I'm struggling. I've just never been a big night owl.
Yeah. during that internship, I'm sure you learned many different aspects of the news.
I did.
Did you do pretty much everything from setting up a camera to...
I did not learn setting up a camera.
Yeah.
The business has changed so much in, giving away my age, 22 years. 22 years ago, as a reporter, you didn't have to shoot your own stuff. So I wanted to do reporting, and as an intern, I never had to learn how to do my own videography. I learned how to edit, but I never had to learn how to do my own videography. Yeah. Now, everybody going in as a first-time reporter, you're a one-man band.
Sure.
Meaning you have to shoot, edit, do everything on your own. And truth be told, times have changed so much for new reporters coming in because you don't only have the television aspect, you have a digital aspect that is requiring you to do now.
Yes.
But your boss is requiring you to do television.
Yeah.
And you're torn. You're basically doing, you're a photographer, you're an editor, you're a reporter, you're a digital writer. 4 jobs, 1 salary.
Wow. And, technology, the way it has advanced. I mean, when you started in news, you were probably still freehanding a lot of things.
And we were still tape-to-tape editing, which people may not even know what that means now.
Yeah.
It's so easy to edit with digital editing. But back then, if you have a murder and the script says, your edited piece says, I don't know, the name of the suspect is not known at this time. But at 4:30, they put out a press release saying the name of the person is this. The photographer now has to go back and find that one clip, re-edit that, but then you have to re-edit everything after that.
Yeah.
Tape to tape.
That's a lot.
I mean, it was crazy. Now you think about that, it's as simple as hurry up, go retrack it, drop it in.
Yeah.
Not back then.
You graduate from Loyola.
I did. In fact, Katrina came what would have been my junior year. I should have been class of 07.
Yeah.
But I got out a year early. I had enough credits in high school that counted towards college. But then, so I only really needed one more semester. And Katrina had shut down all of New Orleans. Loyola's flooded. I came to LSU for that one semester. Life is upside down. I don't know where I'm going. The house is flooded. Like, Katrina was just a rough time.
Yeah. And you covered that.
I did. I covered it. I lived it. My own house is underwater. My school is underwater. My WWL went underwater. So it's a hard time. You're 21. You're not. I'm lying. I was not 21 yet. I was only 20 because I rang in my 21st birthday covering a hurricane. And we were on 12-hour shifts, and I here in Baton Rouge, and I ended up in the ER for my 21st birthday because a frame fell on my head in the middle of the night when it was my time to sleep.
Oh, wow.
That was my 21st birthday.
Happy birthday.
I know, right? So I've really given this profession a lot of my personal time.
Yeah, you really have. And, it's a whole different world than what normal people's lives and going back and forth to work on, like I said, an 8 to 5 job or 9 to 5 job. It is news changes on a dime.
It does. And I'm sorry, I digress. That's what I was trying to answer earlier. But just 2 days ago, I was walking around in the house and I'm thinking, there's a special person made to cover news and work in news, because like you said, it's not a 9 to 5 job. I in the mornings I say, hey, I'm going to go do my 2-mile walk, or I'm going to work out. That's a good idea. Yeah. Well, what if there was a double shooting overnight? The first thing you're doing in the morning is writing that up, but then you need to confirm it. You need this, you need that. And now it's been 45 minutes and that's your walk time.
Yeah.
So there are times at 12:30 I've been working in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I'll stay up till 3 o'clock working, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that from every single person.
Right.
But it's not a 9 to 5 job.
Let's move on to investigative journalism. And that was something, it's 14 years ago that you got into. And investigative journalism really took off around that time.
It did.
That was when it kind of really hit. And it takes a different type of reporter to do investigative journalism. You have to be courageous, because a lot of times you are investigating things people don't want you investigating, quite frankly. Somebody's probably on the other side doing something wrong. And so it takes a little courage. It takes a lot of, I guess, an inquisitive nature, someone who likes to do puzzles and figure things out. Doesn't surprise me a bit. For me, I remember you back in those days, and I remember thinking, wow, this girl right here is good. What was it about investigative journalism specifically that intrigued you?
I think there was an opening. You had Paul Gates at WAFB for a long time. The market had kind of settled as far as investigative journalism had not died down, but it's slowed.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is a time when investigative journalism across the country is picking back up.
Yeah.
So I'm approached. When I first started at WAFB, I was also the weekend anchor. They pulled me off the anchor desk, and they claimed that the ratings were down, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I came off the anchor desk, and I went full-time as a reporter, but in exchange it was, how about also meshing in investigative journalism? Sounds good. Let's do it. And the very first pieces that we did were things that were going missing from LSU and Southern University. And a cow went missing from LSU. How do you lose a cow?
Yeah, that's tough.
That was my
that
was my very first investigation, and I mean, again, the bug bit, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
But from there, and that was one of the easier ones. When I say easier, I mean like to look at some documents and see, hey, you are supposed to have XYZ in inventory, and you're missing this. Some investigations, there are times I worked for months on pieces, and we realized there's nothing here. Call it quits.
Really?
Yep. Because it's not worth it. Regardless if you spent months on it or you spent a bunch of money pulling records, but you find out nothing was done wrong, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Yeah.
And I learned that lesson early on. In fact, I remember spending 3 months investigating. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we spent a lot of money on it too and a lot of time. And I had to go to the news director and tell him there's nothing here.
Wow.
But we dropped it. But then after that, it's kind of like when you start a puzzle, you may do 100-piece first.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I can do a puzzle. Okay, 200, 250. Eventually you're at that 1,000-piece puzzle. And that's kind of how it became. And before I knew it, I was so deep in for hardcore investigations, and we were making a difference. We are making a difference, should I say.
Absolutely.
That I just fell in love with holding people accountable, and don't think you're above the law because you have a badge or because you were an elected official or you're a judge.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. Right.
And, I've heard stories that sometimes I guess it's your cameraman, what do they call it, videographer, is holding you back by your shirt.
Oh my God. In fact, I still remember one of my photographers, and she's one of my closest friends. We're actually out in Livingston doing some story, and I think a bunch of employees get let go. They never got their last check.
Yeah.
Well, those people count on that money.
Sure.
They've got bills to pay, and I'm very much pro-victim.
Yes.
That really hurts me that they did a job, pay them. So I knock on the door, the guy answers, we're rolling. And he tells me something, and it's none of your business what I do with the business. And I just kept on asking questions. Are they going to get paid? Are they going to get paid? Are they going to get paid? And I've literally, on the back of my shirt, I feel somebody pulling. And I'm like, who would be pulling me when I'm in the middle of an interview? And it's her trying to grab me by the shirt and just saying, let's go, get out. Because he's already told me, get off my property.
Yeah.
And at that, I should have known at that point, after you've been told one time, that's trespassing after.
Sure.
And I was just in the heat of the moment. I had to get an answer for these people because they're begging us to get an answer for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've run her into poles. Yeah, it's been bad.
Some people, there would be hesitation. for example, you went and you just knocked on that door. You just knocked on that door, and something is not right with these people not getting paid, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. A lot of people, they would be nervous about that, right? You don't have that?
Nope.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. And perfect for this field, right?
It is.
Because if you had that, there's no way you'd be successful. And you have seen a lot of success. When you started in news to now, and I just read you earlier that intro, I just did that intro, would you have imagined?
Never.
Really?
I never even saw myself owning my own company.
Yeah.
Never. And had you told me even 5 years ago, this is where you're going to be, I would have laughed at you.
Really?
I mean, there are days I sit back. We just celebrated our 3-year anniversary.
Yes.
But it's only been 3 years, and we have a great company. We have a great staff. The staff is who makes this, as well as the love and support we have from the public, because they choose to come to us for their news.
Right.
But we have a podcast. We have an app. We're on all platforms. We have advertisers.
You have a website that
Yes.
is second to none.
Well, thank you. We just did a brand new website,
Yes.
and all that within 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that.
You should be.
Yep.
And I'll tell you this, and we'll get into a little bit of the new stuff that you have going on. And I guess since you brought it up, we'll talk about the website. And I'll tell you one of my favorite things about it is you can go to unfilteredwithkieran.com. And if you're in Livingston Parish, you may not care about something going on in Plaquemine. You can click on Livingston Parish specifically, and it will only have Livingston Parish articles.
Yep.
Livingston Parish news. It won't have something out of Plaquemine. Now, you can go to Plaquemine and you can click that if you want to see it, but it breaks it down by parish. That's unique.
Yep. And that's
Very good
I have
idea.
to give that credit to Daniel Brown, one of our executive producer. He came up with that idea, but even the advertisers on that parish page are specific to that parish. So hopefully if you live in the parish, you're reading that content, you're going to go support those advertisers.
Yeah.
And that's what as a small business, I wanted to make sure we take care of other small businesses. Well, if our supporters go support those advertisers, they are able to keep continuing to support us.
That's right.
The world goes round and round.
That's exactly right. And when you started Unfiltered with Kieran 3 years ago, nerves? Scared?
Not at all.
No? Wow. That's
Not at
pretty
all,
good.
because I think this is well known. I was fired. I applied for jobs. It's deep COVID, and I had doors closed in my face nonstop, and I was done. I was done being told no. I don't like being told I can't do something.
Right.
And times were changing. Times were changing so much in news. So I told myself, you have this idea in your head. It may sound stupid that your channel is on YouTube instead of a TV. Let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work? Okay, sounds good. You give it a year. If it doesn't take off in a year, you call it quits and you go to plan B.
Yeah.
At that time, I had no idea what a plan B was.
Yeah.
I still don't know what plan B would be. But what was the worst that could have happened? It didn't work.
Right. And it sure did.
And it somehow did.
It did. And took off almost, I would almost say immediately. You really saw some traction with it. And, you picked an interesting name because you picked Unfiltered with Kieran. Now, that time in the news, conventional news world, there were glaring issues with, the news just not being what it used to be, agenda-based, right? And especially a lot of these larger networks. And a lot of people did not want that. They felt like they were being lied to, quite frankly, and being manipulated by the news media. You launched Unfiltered with Kieran, and I think Unfiltered is kind of the key.
And the odd thing, though, Jim, is again, God has guided this path from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. But me launching Unfiltered in fact, the day, I know this is not everybody listening is watching the video, but the logo that I created, it's not perfect. I know it's not perfect.
It's pretty good.
But not according to Daniel. No, I know it's not. My magnifying glass doesn't magnify the I get it. But the reason this has so much meaning is I did an interview, and I'm on a Zoom call with a station for about almost 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And the look on his face, because I never hid the fact that I was terminated. I wasn't going to lie to anybody.
Right.
And so when he asked me that your best investigation in the last 6 months, I said, I haven't been employed in the last 6 months. And the look on his face was just like, do what? But in that moment, when I saw his eyes get that much bigger, I decided I'm done. I'm done applying for jobs. And I went inside and I created this logo that very night. Now, granted, the logo wasn't like this to begin with. I had friends who told me, no, I had Halloween eyes on it. And they're like, But this is the one I created that night. And I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to start your company, the name just came to me one day that if I were to start it, I'm literally driving out of the house. The name came to me like that, Unfiltered with Kieran.
Yeah.
And it stuck. I did not spend hours and hours and hours thinking about this. It just came to me like that. That was God. But even our slogan, the news you deserve, unfiltered, same thing. That was the thought process of, you know what? I want to do something to where it's the news that the people deserve.
Yeah.
And the slogan came to me. Like, I firmly believe that was God saying, here, this is what you're doing.
Yeah. Amazing. And, Daniel Brown, who you mentioned, rock star in his own right.
He is.
What he does extremely well. And he came to work for you. And one of the things that he said that really appealed to me was when I saw what Kieran was doing, she wasn't just reporting the news. She was telling a story. That's a big difference. And it sounds simple, but when you're out there and you're just reporting and so-and-so was shot at this place or whatever, and you're out there and you're telling not only the story of the shooting, but you're focusing on the victims. You're putting faces to names. It matters. It makes a difference. And that appealed to him. And one of the reasons that he wanted to get involved, you're not only well known for your reporting, you're also well known for your community involvement. You believe in giving back. You sit on a board for, is it Caliph? Mm-hmm. And tell people who are unaware of what that is.
Caliph is an amazing nonprofit, Capital Area Law Enforcement Foundation. It came about after the 2016 ambush on law enforcement, and we raise money for the vests, the angel armor vests that protect police officers, sheriff's deputies, any law enforcement against higher powered rounds. And in fact, the angel armor vest just saved a deputy in the East Baton Rouge sheriff shooting a few months ago. 2 officers were shot. This deputy realized well after the fact that he had been shot because the bullet was stuck in his vest.
Amazing.
So I know what we're doing is making a big difference.
It sure is. And you also partner with Dudley DeBosier, and y'all do Difference Makers.
We do. I love that one. Difference Maker is a series that Dudley DeBosier has always done Difference Makers.
Yeah.
But we partnered up with the people in the community who have a need. They fill out a nomination form. It goes straight to Dudley DeBosier. They choose who they're going to be able to help given how much the cost is. But so far, we have replaced a roof. This lady, her neighbor recommended her. She was pregnant. She was expecting. Her boyfriend died in a shooting, and she had no way to compensate for what was coming. Dudley DeBosier stepped in and brought in all sorts of things, and we are able to go interview that family. While we're in the middle of the interview, Chad and Steve walk up and surprise them, and usually I'm just holding back tears because we need that.
Right.
And I highly respect Chad and Steve, which is half the reason for the partnership, because they actually are the people who give back to the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful program, and you can actually go to Unfiltered with Kieran, and you can click on Difference Makers, and you can go back and check out the articles and whatnot. Let me ask you, in all your years of reporting, is there one particular story or two that stick out to you that more than others that you really enjoyed reporting on, or maybe it changed you in some sort of way?
Good, bad, ugly, what?
Whatever. Just stand out to you.
I mean, I know the investigation series I did on Mayor Broome.
Yeah.
It was the Brave Grant. That was a big one. And then recently we just did the water sewage fee. And because of our reporting, it was discovered that there was no non-disclosure when it came to the water fee that was going to be pretty much taxed to all of East Baton Rouge Parish.
Yeah.
They refused to answer questions saying there was a federal non-disclosure and it prevented them. The federal government came back and said, we don't even know of a non-disclosure. The water, I keep calling it water sewage fee. I can't remember the exact terminology of it, but it was taken off to where it's not even an item to consider anymore.
Yeah.
And then back in 17, 16, I can't remember what year it was, but a major federal grant that we got, my investigation showed that a lot of the money that was coming in was being handed out to friends and political allies.
Yeah.
And we shut that federal grant down, but that really proved to me hardcore investigative journalism does make a difference.
It really does.
Because in the grant situation, that's our tax dollars. That's all of our tax dollars when it's a federal grant.
That's right.
It comes back to us. But then in the water sewage story, there were some people who were going to get taxed $10,000. That's crazy. People can't afford that.
No, they can't.
No.
How important is trust in what you do?
Oh, my God, it's huge. Sometimes it bothers me that I get called out all the time. Well, UWK won't even touch this one. Oh, she won't touch this one. She won't touch this one. And people come up with some weird reasons why.
Yeah.
The main reason is I don't have the staff. We can't do everything.
Yeah.
I remember when Woody had asked me, what is the one thing that really bothers you? I responded with, I can't get to everybody.
Yeah.
There's no way I can get to everybody.
That's right.
But you're not asking of all other medias to get to you guys.
Yeah.
And we do our absolute level best, but there's no way we can get to everyone.
Well, you know, what's amazing to me in the time that I've been involved with you in your business is people will sit down and they will talk to you right here in the studio. And you'll ask them, you know, what made you talk to me today? And they said, because we trust you. And y'all, I cannot tell you the amount of times that comes out of people's mouths that sit across from Kieran and talk to her about some of the most personal things in life, period. And you're the only one they will talk to.
The odd thing is I don't know the why. You asked the question a second ago and I digressed and told you this story of we can't get to everybody, but the truth is I don't know why.
I think it's because they trust you.
But why?
Well, because you're Kiran Chawla and you just have a way about reporting, and that's a feather in your cap. That is what you have earned over 20 plus years in journalism.
And I'm blessed for that. I don't really understand the why.
Yeah.
I don't, because this is the journalism I was taught how to do 20 years ago by the veterans at WWL.
Yeah. Well, that's some pretty good people to learn
They
from.
are. They are.
I'll tell you that. Let's talk about Louisiana Unfiltered. So one thing that I personally love about Kieran's podcast is, look, in the news world, you can't sometimes tell an entire story. You have to cut it. You're limited, right? It's a 5-minute segment or a 10-minute segment maybe. There's so much more behind that story that people don't hear on a traditional news outlet because of time limitations.
Agreed.
So where a podcast is advantageous to not only the person reporting it, but also the person intaking that information is there is no limit. You're going to get the entire story. What I love about yours is a lot of times you'll report a crime of some sort that occurred on Unfiltered with Kieran. And then you'll do a podcast with the victims of that crime or the families of the victim. If it was someone, sadly, some of these people have been murdered and it might be the families of that victim. But you get the actual story from the actual people involved. And it's the entire story. It's 30, 40, 50 minutes of an interview. And you are such a good interviewer, it flows. It goes that quick. But it's a podcast that just opens up a whole nother avenue for your media company. Would you agree?
I agree. And you know this better than anybody. I was not for starting a podcast.
No, she did. She wanted one more thing on her plate.
I did not.
Like
we were 2.5 years in, and they ganged up on me. They said we have to do a Zoom meeting real quick. The staff did, and Farron and Daniel came up and said, "Let's do this. All you got to do is show up at the studio and record 1 hour a week. The rest we're going to do it."
Yeah.
And how do I say no to that?
Yeah.
So finally I'm like, okay, I guess. And we launched in this year. And then you came in the picture, and you probably regret that now.
No. Nope. Sure don't.
But I'm not going to lie, Jim. With as busy as we are with Unfiltered and just day-to-day news, it's hard. I mean, my phones are both literally sitting here 95% of the time whenever we do these podcasts because I'm out of the mix.
Sure.
For that 1 hour, hour and a half, whatever, I'm out of the mix. So if breaking news is happening, I'm missing it.
Yeah.
But my point is these interviews are set up, and on the drive here, I'm thinking, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I don't have the time. Do we really have the time? But then when I sit here and I start talking to these people, and when it finishes, it's this complete opposite feeling of, wow.
Yeah.
And I know that many a times, you're right here.
Yeah.
Many a times it's their first time ever speaking up. So sometimes it's been 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, only a year, but they feel relieved.
Yeah.
For me to sit on that side and be doing the interview and see that relief, it's just this whole.
Yeah.
And at that very moment, I'm like, I love this.
Yes. Yeah. And look, she is exactly describing it accurately as it happens. But it is something that not everybody's made for podcasting. I knew Kieran was. And, a lot of news people, it's a natural progression for most of them. But what separates you, what makes you different is the trust that these people have in you. And some of them that we've had people that Kieran has sat down in here that have never talked to anybody.
Nope.
And they will only talk to Kieran. And I can tell you it's an amazing podcast. So number one, I would encourage everyone to go check it out. I know there's a little bit of confusion with, we can't find it, under Unfiltered with Kieran. Well, it's separate. It's Louisiana Unfiltered. So I want to make that clear. But I also want to make something else clear. There's a series right now playing on there that is absolutely fire.
I'm so proud of that one.
Amazing series. Tell people about it.
Our staff has killed that series. They've done such a good job on it, but that was another one where people spoke up for the very first time. We did I think it's going to end up being a 4-part series into the accused serial killer, Ryan Sharp.
Yep.
He was operating in East Feliciana Parish and East Baton Rouge Parish back in 2017. This man wreaked havoc for that area, but I remember it so well. I can't remember things now, and for some reason, I remember every single trip to East Feliciana Parish 7 years ago. Long story short, 4 men were shot, 3 of them died, and he was eventually caught, and he said that he was told by the federal government that he had hunting tags, and he had to fulfill those tags. So that's why he was killing the men. Yeah. Well, his trial just wrapped up, but our staff did an amazing job interviewing all the victims. The victim, including the person who survived, Buck Hornsby survived. Those families haven't spoken to anybody else. Right. We had the sheriff, we had the chief deputy, we had the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office walking us through how they got him, how they had a clear line of fire in case it was needed as they took down this guy. Yeah. Things like that I'm sitting on your side, and as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe they just said that. Yeah. Or the families are talking and opening up for the very first time. The wives, the father-in-laws, the kids. Yeah. And Daniel and Farron took all of that and just pieced it into this beautifully written story that is in multiple parts. In fact, when I was in East Feliciana Parish covering the trial, I had people telling me, oh my God, you leave me hanging every time. Why can't you just drop all of them at the same time? So
you're always going to get those. And look, I get them on my side too. It's some people just hate to wait. Yep. And all of that. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes you just can't. You can't tell a whole story in 1 hour. So one of the things interesting about this series, and incidentally, y'all, it's called Hunting Games. Genius name. Mm-hmm. But one of the things interesting about it is that it is highly produced. It's got the theatrical background music with it. And none of that stuff's easy. Shout out to Daniel Brown, who did a great job of intertwining that music into that series. And look, y'all, this lady sitting across from me right now, you cannot impress her no matter what you try to do. And it is actually on fire. The numbers look really, really good. And I'm not surprised a bit. It's a phenomenal series. Definitely go check it out. And you can find that. You can go to the website at Unfiltered with Kieran. You can find it there. You can check out the Facebook page. And of course, everybody's steady promoting that. Great series. Thank you. You should be very proud of it.
I am. The staff did an awesome job on this one. And the 4th part that is being written right now, I kind of don't even want to reveal it, but we've got our hands on something that you're going to hear from the suspected killer himself. And I'm still calling him suspected, though.
Yeah, he's convicted.
He's convicted in 1 case. You still got 3 more to go. So I guess convicted, accused serial killer.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds good to me. Couple more questions. First, I'm going to ask you some fun facts. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go? Where would you go?
Colorado.
Colorado?
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world, you going to Colorado? Well, Colorado's beautiful.
Yellowstone. It's so peaceful there.
You been?
Technically, that's not Colorado. I guess we flew into Denver, so that's why I have Colorado. But yes, so I meant to say Yellowstone. It's just so peaceful.
Oh, my wife's been wanting me to bring her to Yellowstone.
Well, Wendy, years. I'm going to give you a list for Jim to take you to.
The second she hears, I told you.
Yep. Call me, Wendy. No, but Yellowstone is gorgeous. We love to travel.
Yeah.
But the peace you get, just seeing nature, it was just,
I can imagine.
It was so pretty.
Beautiful.
Anywhere in the world, though, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, my nationality is Indian. Yeah. I love going back to India and seeing that side of my culture, my life. I love to travel.
Yeah.
So
very good.
I can't sit here and tell you I have a favorite spot. If I had to, right now it's Yellowstone, Colorado, the mountains. It's just Estes Park. It's so pretty.
Well, I got to check those out. And personally, for me, Iceland or New Zealand?
Iceland is where we were actually planning to go in October, and then we ended up calling it off because I was like, I think it needs a little more planning.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
If you could have any superpower in the world, what would you pick?
More time in the day.
Wow, and you answered that
Yes.
really fast.
Yes.
So if you could add an extra hour.
More?
Yeah.
Each day should have like 36 hours. Yes.
I agree. I can relate there. I get that 100%. Kiran Chawla, thank you for coming on and spending a little time with us. I know your time is valuable. Folks, we're going to link every single thing you can possibly think of in the description of this podcast. Her website, we'll link her Facebook, her TikTok, y'all. Go check out her TikTok. It's great. If you're the type of person into that short form content, you can't beat it. So go check that out. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you. And the YouTube nowadays, with everybody who has smart TVs, pull up our channel on your TV. Yeah. I mean, we've got documentaries up there, award-winning documentaries. So our TV channel is our YouTube Unfiltered with Kieran.
Very good.
Jim,
good.
I'm going to take over this podcast for a quick second.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. You also chase your dream.
Oh.
And the reason that you and I get along so well is the other day, the interview I did, he even said it's the people who you surround yourself with, and that's who you become. I am blessed to call you my friend.
Oh.
We met for work, but immediately something clicked and we became friends. But you just are a genuinely good human being with a great heart. And if you're rising, you're not going by yourself. You're taking your friends with you. So thank you for having me on. And thank you for being our friend.
Thank you very much. You're going to make me blush. I appreciate
you did that to me earlier, so there.
If you'd like to check out more from Local Leaders of the podcast, please do so. We are obviously in audio form, but our big platform is YouTube. So go to YouTube, give us a follow if you haven't done so. Thank you to our sponsor again, Level Dumpsters. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much.